last year, I would say I've seen dozens of videos saying Cartoon Network is past the point of no return, and there is no future for it. It did not help when the iconic physical Cartoon Network got shut down recently, and that fueled a lot of those beliefs. There has been a lot of doom and gloom, but there finally seems to be a light at the end of the tunnel. Some may call this the resurrection of Cartoon Network, since the previous few years just seemed to be cancellation after cancellation, with the channel surviving on reruns, and now they seem to be making a lot of new content. Annecy Festival just happened, and a lot of news about new shows were coming from it. But even outside of this year's Annecy, there seems to be a lot of Cartoon Network news, making Cartoon Network seem like going to enter a new era. And I want to cover a bunch of future Cartoon Network projects. Mentioned 10 seconds ago, Annecy was a great time for Cartoon Network. In case you were unaware of what that is an international animation film festival.
Welcome to the International Animation Festival of Annecy.
Held every year to showcase new and upcoming animated projects like the Stranger Things animated series, Goat, Fixed, Pets on a Train, and Elia. Cartoon Network did not hold back with its announcement. I'll start this video by talking about the most recent news I saw a lot of people excited about. Steven Universe is getting a spin-off sequel from the original creator Rebecca Sugar, who is the executive producer alongside Ian Jones-Forty, the creator of OKKO. The sequel is called Steven Universe Lars in Space, which is set after the original show ended. This show follows Lars, the space outlaw, and his pirate crew as they smuggle contraband, invade the authorities, and uncover the darkest secrets of the Fallen Gem Kingdom. I'm not surprised that they are adding to the world of Steven Universe. It was a very successful show with over 5 seasons and 160 episodes. After the show finished, they released a movie, then after that, they released another addition to the Steven Universe franchise as an epilogue to the movie called Steven Universe Future. I did see some people suggest the reason it's on Amazon Prime instead of Cartoon Network is so the writers don't have to be subtle or tiptoe around the LGBT relationship that might be in the show, as Amazon is less restrictive with what's in its animation. I do always like seeing writers have full creative freedom, but I feel like it's a great choice. I did see mixed opinions about this news. I have never watched a second of the show. Somehow I missed the hype, but I do always see people arguing about it. I like that song from the show that went viral on TikTok. All I've ever heard about the show is the fandom is annoying, which means nothing. All fandoms are annoying. The only way you could be in a fandom without annoying or deranged people is if the fandom only has 3 people in it, and even then, one of them is probably still a bit irritating. If the only thing you can say about a show is you don't like the fandom, then the show is probably decent if there's no glaring faults to pick on. So I might give the show a watch if Prime gets the rights to its older episodes, because the box set does cost £90. I am open to watching it. Now on to talking about a show I did watch as a child and still watch to this day. Regular Show. A while ago at last year's Annecy Festival, it was announced there was going to be an addition to the Regular Show franchise, and we found out it's going to be a spin-off called Regular Show Lost Tapes, made by J.G. Quintel. Mark Hamill is returning as Skip, and it will be airing on Adult Swim in North America instead of Cartoon Network, but as an international fan, we don't know where it's going to be yet. We don't even know we're going to get it. Can you tell I'm a bit salty? Just a tad. And now on to news that a lot of people didn't want. Teen Titans Go has been renewed for its 10th season, making it Cartoon Network's longest running show, and will probably be the first and only show, at least for a while, to reach 500 episodes. Recently they made a real big deal about their 400th episode, and a lot of people were upset the show is still going on. I am not saying this show's perfect, but some of the episodes are enjoyable. Before you start putting up clips of the weird episodes of the show has been running for over 12 years with 420 episodes so far. I am not surprised that Idea Factory lets through a few duds, but I do still find it funny that they are explaining quantum physics to children sometimes, and watching Robin beat up Kid Flash with his bow staff just so he could win a race was funny. And no one will ever be able to convince me that the scene of Robin throwing Bruce Wayne's parents back into that alleyway was not peak cinema. There's also going to be a new Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends series, which is not something I thought I would say in 2025. The new show called Foster's Fun Time for Imaginary Friends, and the premise of the show is Blue is a mentor for younger imaginary friends. I have not watched this show in a decade, so my memory is a bit fuzzy, but I would not leave Blue to watch my pet rock, let alone watching living, breathing, impressionable young ones, so I'm concerned of how that's going to go for them. This show is aimed at a preschool audience, but it's said to be very similar to the original show. I love the show as a kid, but I never really hear anyone mention it, so I was really shocked when I heard they were going to make something new in this world. I would have thought they would go for Dexter Lab or Codename Kid Next Door if they were going to make a sequel of a less popular but still well-liked old Cartoon Network show, but hopefully this does go well. There was some Adventure Time Kate and Fiona news at Annecy 2025. Huntress Wizard will play a much larger role in season 2 of the show, and there will be another song by Rebecca Sugar she performed at Annecy Festival. This would all be great news if the show was available in the UK, which it is not. I feel like that one scene in SpongeBob looking sadly out of the window every time I see people talk talk about the show, because when they released it, they just somehow forgot the UK. They could put it on Netflix or Amazon Prime, but no, they want us to suffer over here. I just want some joy seeing Cake and Fiona and Marshall and all the others frolicking through the wind. It actually looks like they're going through it sometimes. Adventure Time Cake and Fiona is not the only Adventure Time news that's come out recently. There's going to be Adventure Time movie that we still know little about. There's also going to be Adventure Time Side Quest, which is a prequel series set when Finn and Jake were children. The final new Adventure Time show is a preschool show, and I don't know where they're going to put it in America since they just cancelled their preschool block. It's called Adventure Time Heyo Bimo, about Bimo living in a new neighborhood and making some new friends. On to the next bit of news. A couple of weeks ago, they announced there's going to be a continuation series of The Amazing World of Gumball called The Wonderfully Weird World of Gumball. They are changing the voice actors for Gumball and Darwin, which is not new. They have changed the voice actors multiple times before, but for the first time, Anais is getting a new voice actor, which is interesting. They released a trailer for it where we see Gumball and Darwin waking up covered in dust. Discover they have been asleep for 7 years, which is the amount of time the show has been off air.
About 7 years. 5 more minutes then.
And I personally don't like the new logo, but I am excited for new episodes. The show is coming out at some point in 2025, released on Hulu in the States, meaning it's going to be released on Disney internationally, and it's nice to be included in things. Now to talk about a new thing that is not a reboot, revival, or a spin-off. Iyanu recently came out, and it is a breath of fresh air. It's about an orphan teenager who lives in this magical place called Yorubaland. Turns out she is the chosen and the only hope to save her people, which is totally not a lot of pressure put on a child, but if she doesn't do something, they will die. The first season came out in April to wonderful reviews, and I have to take everyone's word for it because it doesn't come out in the UK for another 2 months on ITVX, you know, a popular streaming service in the UK. In case you're not from the UK, I'm being sarcastic. I've never heard anyone use it. I even checked out some of the stuff that's on there. They have season 2 of Mystery Incorporated. You have to watch season 1 of this show or it's not going to make sense. But at least we're getting it, so I cannot complain too much. And I can buy the book at least. There was a celebratory panel for 25 years of Cartoon Network that was described as a special event celebrating studio that defied industry norms and defined animation for a generation. In that panel, the creators of Dexter's Laboratory, The Powerpuff Girls, Adventure Time, Steven Universe, Regular Show, and Adventure Time, Fiona and Cake were all present there. In this panel, the past of Cartoon Network was discussed, throwing it back to some of Cartoon Network's most iconic shows, how they were always in conflict with what Hanna-Barbera wanted, or how unique it was that young people like Tartakovsky and McCracken were leading their own shows, and that was unheard of. McCracken also spoke about they made the first short for Powerpuff Girls, and it tested poorly because apparently a group of 11-year-old boys said it was the worst cartoon ever made and whoever made it should be fired. Children never say your feelings. That is crazy. The panel also spoke about the next generation of animation, referring to independent animated shows like Hazbin Hotel and how bringing your work to the internet first might be the best way to get your work discovered. There was also a mention of Scavenger Rain and as animation that got their foot through the door by starting off on the internet. I feel like saying this is the best route for getting new animation made would be an overstatement of the effectiveness of it, because not every independent show from YouTube becomes like Amazing Digital Circus or Hazbin Hotel. A lot of them struggle to get the viewers. You also have to factor in the cost of making those things. Most people can't do it. It's much easier to go through a studio. You also have to pay voice actors because these independent projects have full cast. Most people cannot afford to fund that, so it's not the most accessible. It can be helpful, evidently, by the popular ones. There are still perks to going the traditional animation way. It's hard for one person or a group of people to fund that, even if they get crowdfunding from places like Kickstarter. Just to summarize the whole panel, it was giving an overall positive outlook on the future of animation. It celebrated the freedom that new animators can have, but considering most of the shows I spoke about in this video that are coming out or being made by Cartoon Network are spin-off, sequels, revival, the reboot, I don't think it's all sunshine roses for animation. The fact that a lot of big companies don't seem to be taking actual chances on new works is concerning, and when they do it half-heartedly. The shows end up being very much under-promoted. See, no one wants original work because no one knew it existed. The amount of shows I've only heard about when they got cancelled and their small but dedicated fan base are outraged by the cancellation is concerning. There's so many shows I don't hear about until years after because Cartoon Network, Disney Channel and whatever do not promote it. A lot of these shows seem set up to fail from the get-go. It's hard to be excited for the future when everyone seems to be clinging onto the past. Whilst I am happy for more Adventure Time, more Gumball, and even Phineas and Ferb on Disney Channel just came back. I'm excited for all these shows, but I do want new stuff. Phineas Phineas and Ferb had a whole event to announce they were making a new season. I understand there is safety in what you know, and this is a business, so they don't want to spend money on things they are not sure that they will get a return in their investment. But the only reason they have all these shows to go back to is because 20-30 years ago, they took a chance on something weird, wacky, creepy, and strange. Cartoon Network was not built on safety, it was built on pushing boundaries, as they discussed in 25-year anniversary panel. It just is a shame that the only hope of saving Cartoon Network seems to be things that were done 10-20 years ago, and nothing new seems to be being pushed as the new face of Cartoon Network. Also, one of the most recent things I saw people get excited about Cartoon Network was a crossover on this new Yogi Bear show, which featured a bunch of old Cartoon Network shows. So again, a Yogi Bear show which is already using a several decades-year-old franchise, then they had to depend on all the old shows for its most well-known episode. They're really struggling with originality over there. Actually, no they're not. They're struggling to get an audience for it. They are making new shows, they just have no faith in them and don't promote them. A lot of things that are considered the downfall of Cartoon Network, or the reason it's declining, it's just because it's a TV channel, and TV is declining. People are not watching TV anymore. It's mainly streaming services. I don't remember last time I sat in front of a TV and actually watched it. But I don't think it's the end of the Cartoon Network brand. It's a valuable brand. They're going to try and cling on to it. They're not just going to throw that recognition away. So to summarize, Cartoon Network did just resurrect 4 of its biggest shows, but at the same time, they did just fire a bunch of people. So who knows if those shows will be enough to get Cartoon Network back to its glory days. Tell me what your thoughts are on the future of Cartoon Network, and since you got this far in the video, you should like and subscribe. Goodbye!